Children often enchant adults with their innate curiosity and joy. Yet, this same curiosity can sometimes prompt them to engage in strange behaviors. One such instance involved a young boy who found himself with an odd item stuck in his ear. The boy nonchalantly inserted a pencil into his ear, where it stubbornly remained lodged. However, there's more to this story than initially appears. Driven by a natural inquisitiveness, many young children explore their environment by inserting various objects into their noses, ears, or even eyes, learning through hands-on experiences. In this narrative, the child with the pencil in his ear is named Louis King. Louis was past the toddler age, which added to the astonishment of his grandmother when she found out what he had done. While it's typical for children under 4 to explore by placing objects in their mouths, ears, or eyes, some, like Louis, continue this behavior into later childhood. Commonly found items in such cases range from food particles like nuts, watermelon seeds, or popcorn kernels. However, Louis had chosen a small pencil stub instead. He easily managed to insert the tiny object into his ear but soon realized that removing it was going to be much more difficult. While his mom was at work, his grandmother, Sheila, was looking after him. It was during a day spent with his granny that the mishap took place. Such incidents are not entirely rare. So initially, Sheila thought she could manage her lively grandson with ease. She hadn't anticipated how quickly the situation could escalate under her supervision. One of the most alarming concerns for any caregiver is the potential harm that could befall the child in their care. When Louis told his granny about the incident, she was struck dumb for a moment, unable to respond. Her concern was not only for the immediate danger to her grandson but also the dread of having to tell his parents about the mishap. Sheila had hoped nothing would go amiss while she was responsible for him. Her daughter would be incredibly distressed if anything were to happen to Louis while he was in her care, at head in disbelief but relieved that the ordeal was over. Indeed, something significant had transpired while Louis was absorbed in coloring quietly in his room. Sheila regretted not acting on her gut feeling to check on him sooner, as doing so might have prevented the mishap. Monitoring a 10-year-old can be challenging, and the issue came to Sheila's attention only when Louis began to complain about an earache. If Louis had remained silent, the outcome could have been far worse. Sheila tried to inspect his ear herself, but without proper tools, she could only peer into darkness. Recognizing the urgency, she quickly collected her things and initiated the emergency protocol for such situations. As they readied themselves for the hospital trip, Louis was distressed, shedding tears and tampering with his sore ear, while Sheila struggled to soothe him amidst her own panic. Her anxiety inadvertently heightened his alarm, making him painfully aware of the gravity of having a foreign body in his ear. In his agitation, Louis started to bang his head to try and eject the object, prompting Sheila to softly hold his wrists to control him. Acknowledging the seriousness of the event, Sheila hastened to get her grandson to the hospital without delay. Upon arrival, she clasped his hand firmly, offering comfort as they entered the emergency department. Behind her, Louis continued to weep, burdened by the situation and oblivious to the potential dangers his actions might invoke. They were promptly seen by Dr. Philip Russell. After a preliminary check with his basic instruments, Dr. Russell concluded that they were inadequate for removing the obstruction. The item, a pencil, was entirely obstructing Lewis's ear canal. Thankfully, Lewis had managed to calm down by then, allowing Dr. Russell to proceed with the removal using more sophisticated tools. The extraction process was more time-consuming than anticipated. The pencil was deeply embedded, requiring the use of specialized extraction equipment. Ultimately, Dr. Russell successfully and carefully removed the wooden and graphite piece. As the object was extracted from Lewis's ear canal, everyone present was taken aback. It was not at all what they had expected. "You've really managed to wedge it in there, Dr. Russell told Lewis, remarking on the depth at which the pencil had been inserted. Sheila watched, her face a mixture of shock and relief. Thankful that the complication was resolved. Is that the entire ordeal? Or just a portion of it? Dr. Russell asked, with a sense of relief. Lewis assured him, "I believe that's the entirety." "Yes. All of it." Yet Dr. Russell, not entirely convinced by Lewis's response, recommended a more detailed examination. "Let's take another look inside your ear," he suggested, gently adjusting the boy's head to get a better view. What Dr. Russell discovered inside was both a relief and a surprise. Given the recent stressful events in the sterile environment of his clinic, he carefully extracted a tiny, circular object with his forceps. The extraction brought immediate comfort to Lewis, the young patient, and curiosity filled the faces of everyone in the room. Initially mistaken for a pencil, the object, now revealed under the scrutiny of onlookers including the doctor and Granny, was in fact a battery similar to those found in watches. As he studied the object, Dr. Russell asked Lewis, "Are you certain it was a pencil?" Doubt began to cloud Lewis's mind as he considered the possibility of a mistake. Dr. Russell highlighted the potential severe consequences of having such foreign bodies in the ear, which could lead to serious infections, affect hearing, balance, coordination, and even result in deafness in extreme cases. Thankfully, Dr. Russell's proficiency ensured the battery was removed without further complications. He reassured a distressed Granny that the eardrum, although damaged, was similar to skin in that it should heal naturally within 6 weeks. This was comforting to Granny, particularly when Lewis admitted that the battery, initially thought to be a pencil, had been lodged in his ear for a whole week. He had felt discomfort and his attempts to remove it likely only pushed it deeper. Granny was relieved to hear that the incident hadn't happened on her watch. The origin of the battery and how it ended up in Lewis's ear remained unclear, as she admitted to the camera documenting the event. It is not unusual for children to insert objects into their ears or noses, or even into those of their peers. However, confusing a battery for a pencil was not only atypical but also particularly dangerous due to the chemical risks involved. Dr. Russell pointed out that such occurrences are quite frequent among young children. The confusion involving a pencil and a watch battery was unusual but not unique. He remembered another recent incident where a girl was discovered to have a clothespin stuck in her nose. These stories highlight the adventurous yet sometimes dangerous ways children explore the world. Before we even realized the unexpected turns ahead, we had the distinct chance to appear on the BBC television show Bizarre. It was particularly strange and somewhat concerning that the boy mistook a battery for a pencil. This led us to wonder if there were other times when he might have inserted objects into his nose or ears and removed them himself. Or perhaps young Lewis was more concerned about the consequences of admitting to inserting a battery rather than a pencil. It seems unlikely that he will be sharing any more of his secrets anytime soon. But we truly hope he has taken away an important lesson from this experience, if only to ease his grandmother's worry. After watching this story, how do you feel? Feel free to share with us in the comments section below. And then there is another similar warm story. Let's continue to see. The arrival of a baby is universally celebrated as a joyous and beautiful occasion. However, when one particular baby was born with a large, unusual black mark on his face, his parents' reaction was unexpectedly shocking. Lindsay and Andrew Jackson were just an average couple. They resided in a lovely home purchased with earnings from their regular jobs. They had a circle of friends with whom they occasionally socialized and a supportive family they deeply cherished. In many ways, Lindsay and Andrew led a typical life. They had been married for several years and had 2 sons. Mark, who was 8 years old, and Sam, a few years his junior. The Jacksons were dedicated parents who did their best to provide for their children without spoiling them. Mark and Sam were down-to-earth children who understood and respected their circumstances. The Jackson family epitomized normalcy, not in a mundane or dull manner, but in a relatable way that included the usual daily challenges. They enjoyed outings together but also valued their individual time apart. Like any family, they experienced their share of arguments and laughter. One day, however, their ordinary lives took a dramatic turn with a surprising development. Lindsay discovered she was pregnant. While the news was initially shocking, Lindsay and Andrew couldn't help but feel a thrill at the prospect of adding to their family. Welcoming another child was a cherished experience, though they were acutely aware that pregnancy came with its risks and challenges. To ensure the well-being of their unborn child, Lindsay adopted a healthier lifestyle. She swapped her usual hamburgers for salads, replaced caffeine with water and juice, and traded sedentary evenings in front of the TV for exercise routines. She was determined to maintain her health to support her baby's development. Their excitement grew when, during their first ultrasound, the doctor confirmed that the baby was developing perfectly, with the right number of fingers and toes and a cute little face. But the most thrilling news was that they were expecting a girl. Overjoyed and a bit surprised, since they hadn't pondered much about the baby's sex, the news that they were having a daughter made them feel their family would soon be complete. As they returned home, filled with happiness and anticipation, they eagerly began preparing for the new addition to their family, unaware of the challenges that lay ahead with the birth of their unique little girl. When Sam and his siblings learned that they were going to have a new sister, their initial reaction wasn't filled with the overwhelming excitement one might expect. After all, what little boy is thrilled about the prospect of having a little sister to play with? Nonetheless, they were happy and eagerly awaited the arrival of the newest member of the Jackson family. This addition would unofficially make them the Jackson 5, but there was an underlying anxiety about whether the birth would proceed as smoothly as the pregnancy had. Lindsay and Andrew, the expectant parents, were also filled with anticipation and a bit of nerves as they wondered what surprises the birth might hold for them. The story of their daughter's arrival turned out to be quite the event, and the details would unfold in dramatic fashion. Throughout her pregnancy, Lindsay felt relatively at ease. Having been through the process twice before, she knew broadly what to expect. which helped alleviate some of the typical anxieties of expecting mothers. When the big day finally arrived, Lindsay and Andrew found themselves at the maternity ward, having already arranged for their boys to stay with grandparents. They were both thrilled and impatient to meet their daughter, who had been growing inside Lindsay for the past 9 months. As labor progressed, Lindsay, supported by Andrew, displayed incredible strength. Despite her experience, childbirth was still an intense and painful ordeal, filled with strange and unexpected sensations. However, she persevered like a champion, gripping Andrew's hand throughout the process. The moment became very real when their baby girl's head began to emerge. They had already decided on the name Louisa for their daughter. However, shortly after Louisa was born, the parents noticed a large, dark mark on one side of her face. Initially, they thought it might be a temporary condition related to childbirth. Upon closer examination, doctors identified it as a significant congenital melanocytic nevus, a type of skin lesion present at birth. Fortunately, Louisa was healthy overall, but the presence of the nevus, which was larger and more visible than usual, meant that there was an increased risk of developing skin cancer later in life. The doctors explained that Louisa had a condition that would require lifelong monitoring to ensure that the nevus did not lead to further complications. Despite the initial shock and adjustment to this news, Lindsay and Andrew were filled with love for their daughter and prepared themselves for the journey ahead, committed to ensuring the best care for Louisa throughout her life. They knew that every child is unique and special in their own way, and Louisa was no exception, marking the beginning of a new chapter full of love, challenges, and profound parental dedication. When Lindsay and Andrew welcomed their baby into the world, they encountered an unexpected challenge that would test their strength as parents. Their daughter, Louisa, was born with congenital melanocytosis, a condition marked by a noticeable black birthmark. This condition left her skin drier and more flaky than usual in the affected area. While kinesthetically, Louisa was likely to be unaffected, the visual difference was a significant shock to both Lindsay and Andrew. The parents were puzzled and questioned the doctors about why this had not been detected during prenatal scans. The doctors explained that the scanners typically do not detect such conditions. And even if they did, it is not standard practice to look for them because they occur in only about 1 in 20 babies. This rarity provides little reason for doctors to actively search for these melanocytes during routine examinations. The initial reaction in the maternity ward was disheartening for the new parents. Other mothers commented on the pronounced birthmark, suggesting that caring for a baby so visibly different would be challenging. These remarks were whispered within earshot of Lindsay and Andrew, casting a shadow over what should have been a joyful time. As Lindsay and Andrew grappled with their emotions and the reality of their daughter's condition, they faced a critical decision. After several days of contemplation, they reached a heartfelt resolution. They decided that no matter the external appearances, Louisa was their precious child who had done nothing wrong. She was born with a mark, but it was just a mark and not a reflection of her worth or potential. Embracing Louisa wholeheartedly, Lindsay and Andrew vowed never to let her feel anything less than loved and accepted. When they left the hospital, they did so with pride, focusing on their daughter's well-being rather than the misplaced judgments of others. Louisa grew up to be a happy and healthy girl, surrounded by family and friends who accepted and cherished her for who she was. Her parents were protective, as any parent would be, But they also knew the importance of nurturing her inner qualities. Inside, Louisa blossomed into a kind, balanced, and brave young girl, confident and undeterred by her external appearance. To Lindsay, Andrew, and everyone who truly knew her, Louisa's heart was full of love, a beacon that no physical mark could ever overshadow. Their story is a testament to unconditional love and acceptance, highlighting that what truly matters is the beauty within. What about you? How would you react if faced with a similar situation? Have you noticed that your child had a large black mark on his face? How would you have reacted? With shock and horror, or with acceptance and unconditional love for him just as he is? We are eager to hear from you about this. Please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Next, let's continue to see another similar story. When Hank first cradled his newborn sister, he wasn't bothered by the difference in their skin colors, his pale and hers dark. What captivated him was a peculiar marking on her arm. On closer examination, Hank's inquisitiveness led to an astonishing find. Jason and Emma had been trying to conceive for nearly 10 years without success. Faced with their ongoing disappointment, they made the decision to adopt, hoping to provide a nurturing environment for a child in need. Little did they anticipate how this choice would drastically alter their lives. The adoption agency, recognizing the couple's commitment and affection, quickly paired them with a newborn. When baby Hank was born, his biological parents selflessly chose adoption, and the agency promptly got in touch with Jason and Emma. Overwhelmed with happiness, they felt a significant transformation was about to take place in their lives. Over the next 6 years, Jason and Emma's lives centered around Hank, their cherished son with striking blue eyes and curly hair. To anyone looking in, Hank could have been Jason's biological child, but only those close to the family were aware of his adoption. His presence filled their home with joy, love, and a deep sense of fulfillment that had previously been absent. Jason and Emma dedicated themselves to making Hank feel secure, loved, and supported daily. Their connection with him grew stronger over time, and they often reflected on the wonderful series of events that had brought them together. As Hank matured, he developed into a kind-hearted, smart, and inquisitive boy, always ready to learn and discover more about his environment. His parents observed with pride as he navigated the ups and downs of childhood, their affection for him growing stronger each day. Over those years, Jason and Emma had discovered the missing piece of their family puzzle, and their home felt genuinely whole. Hank had brought them a level of joy they had never imagined possible, and they were profoundly thankful for the chance to be his parents. However, their happiness was tempered slightly by Hank's persistent requests for a sibling. The loving parents grappled with their son's sincere desire, uncertain of the best way to respond. As they weighed this new challenge, an unexpected phone call one afternoon delivered news that might allow their family to grow even further. The adoption agency reached out to inform Jason and Emma that a young woman in the late stages of her pregnancy was seeking to place her child for adoption. They inquired whether the couple would be interested in adopting the baby, offering them an opportunity to further expand their warm and loving family. The news filled Jason and Emma's hearts with overwhelming joy. Feeling as if fate had presented them with a solution to fulfill their long-held desire even before they had time to fully consider it. They couldn't miss the chance to welcome another child into their household and provide their son Hank with a brother or sister. With a rejuvenated sense of purpose and enthusiasm, They instantly agreed to attend a meeting the next day to discuss the adoption details. The prospect of welcoming another member into their family ignited feelings of joy and excitement within them. As they prepared for the meeting, Jason and Emma reflected on the path that had led them to this point. They thought about the struggles they faced while trying to conceive their heartfelt choice to adopt Hank, and now this serendipitous opportunity to further expand their family. It seemed to be part of a larger destiny's design. At that moment, they realized they were on the verge of starting a new chapter in their life, filled with love, laughter, and the delightful patter of little feet. They shared the exciting news with Hank, whose joy and enthusiasm for having a sibling solidified their decision. Regardless of whether the child would be a boy or a girl, they were wholeheartedly prepared to welcome another child into their family. The following morning, as they awaited the caseworker, Jason and Emma experienced a mix of nerves and anticipation. They understood that the circumstances surrounding the birth of this child might be challenging, and there could be complexities in the child's background that might complicate the adoption process. Nevertheless, they were ready to tackle whatever challenges came their way. At the meeting, the social worker, Sharon Anderson, began by opening the child's file and revealing the touching tale of the young woman who was the biological mother. She had recently lost her husband and was facing severe financial hardships, nearly leading her to homelessness. Struggling with local associations, she found it extremely challenging to create a stable home for her child. This dire circumstance compelled her to make the gut-wrenching choice to put her baby up for adoption. Amid the heartbreaking circumstances of the pregnancy, Jason and Emma were deeply thankful for the opportunity to welcome this child into their lives and enlarge their family. There were, however, further specifics to iron out. The birth mother had decided to surrender all her parental rights and expressed a desire for no subsequent contact with the child. Jason and Emma were required to agree to never attempt to locate the birth mother or her relatives. Although these were stringent conditions, both Emma and Jason accepted and honored these terms. Leaving the meeting, Jason and Emma experienced a whirlwind of emotions, sadness for the birth mother's situation, yet filled with hope and readiness to offer a nurturing and stable environment for another child. The couple, now a family of 3, looked forward to becoming a family of 4, eagerly anticipating the joys and challenges this new chapter would bring. During the adoption process, the caseworker shared a significant piece of information: the child they were planning to adopt was Black. This news initially took them by surprise. Yet it did not hinder their determination to adopt the little girl. Regardless of her racial background differing from that of her adoptive parents and her soon-to-be brother, Hank, who had been the center of his parents' world for 6 years, was on the verge of a major adjustment. Aware of the importance of preparing him for his new sister's arrival, Jason and Emma explained to Hank that his sister would be Black, a fact he accepted without hesitation. His anticipation of having a sibling far outweighed any differences. Hank was enthusiastic about her arrival, even starting to sort through his toys to decide which ones he would share with his new sister to help her feel welcomed. As the birth of the baby approached, the couple was informed that the birth mother had gone into labor. They were told to be on standby, poised to take responsibility for the newborn as soon as she was delivered. This waiting period was fraught with nervous excitement for the family, as their minds were filled with thoughts of the forthcoming changes and their aspirations for the future. Emma was required to stay in the hospital for several days to bond with her newborn and ensure everything was in order. The first time she cradled her baby girl. The emotions were deeply mixed. While Emma felt a surge of happiness, it was also a heartrending farewell for the child's birth mother. Despite the mixed feelings, the family warmly welcomed the little one, spending a few precious hours together before Jason and Hank had to leave, promising to come back the following day. Back at the hospital, the day's emotional toll had exhausted Emma, and she soon fell into a deep sleep beside her new daughter. Nurses moved in and out of the room quietly, as Emma, overwhelmed by the day's events, rested peacefully with her baby by her side. Oblivious to all other sounds, she only responded to her baby's cries for attention. She had almost forgotten how exhausting caring for a newborn could be. Yet her heart was brimming with happiness. The next morning, during visiting hours, Hank was excited to hold his sister, Joy. His parents carefully wrapped the baby in a blanket and passed her to him. Seated, Hank cradled his sister, his love for her clear and steadfast, not influenced by her different skin color. When Joy began to cry, Hank instinctively rocked her gently in his arms, quickly calming her. He noticed she felt slightly warm and began to unwrap her blanket under the watchful eyes of his parents. During this, Hank noticed something odd and unexpected on his sister's arm. "Look, Dad. What's that on my little sister's arm?" he asked, ready to reveal something alarming. Jason looked at the large strip of tape, initially assuming it covered a site of injection. But a closer look revealed a metallic object protruding from it. It seemed to be a tiny device, similar to a microchip. Both Emma and Jason looked at each other with concern, alarmed by the implications of their find. Upon being informed, Sharon, another relative, was equally disturbed by the discovery. She praised Hank for his keen observation, recognizing him as a natural guardian who would always protect his sister. Sharon then suggested that Jason should join her in examining the hospital's security footage to gather more information. Reviewing the security recordings, they noticed footage showing a black woman approaching Emma's door the previous evening. This woman appeared to be wary, deliberately avoiding direct exposure to the camera. Subsequently, a nurse met with her, took a small object resembling an envelope from the woman, entered the room briefly, then exited and vanished along the corridor. Given the serious nature of the events, it was decided that a detailed investigation was necessary to identify the nurse and clarify the happenings of the night before. The woman was quickly recognized, and the involved social worker deemed it wise to involve the police in order to decode the mystery surrounding the microchip and the events of that night. They decided to intercept the nurse during her afternoon shift, when the police would be prepared to interrogate her. In the meantime, Emma and her newborn, Joy, were released from the hospital, leaving Jason to contemplate the alarming revelation they had encountered. Committed to the safety of his family, Jason escorted them home, vigilant for any followers. The police officer assured them that he would contact them the following day to provide updates on the nurse's interrogation. That evening, sleep eluded both Emma and Jason due to their anxiety. Hank, ever protective of his sister, advocated for the family to remain in close quarters, leading them to gather in a single bed. As the first light of dawn began to illuminate the room, Emma just managed to fall asleep, only to be abruptly roused by the ringing of Jason's cell phone. It was the officer they had spoken to the previous day. "You won't believe what's transpired," the officer stated gravely. He revealed that upon confronting the nurse with the security footage, she immediately confessed. The officer detailed that the nurse had admitted to attaching a small tracking device, ingeniously concealed with a Band-Aid, to baby Joy's arm, sending a chill through Jason and Emma. The officer went on to clarify that the nurse had been approached in the hallway by the baby's biological grandmother, overwhelmed with a longing to see her grandchild. The grandmother had found an accomplice in the nurse. Moved by the grandmother's distress and swayed by a significant offer, the nurse had consented to affix the tracking device to the baby discreetly. The grandmother, adamantly against the adoption, appeared ready to go to extreme lengths to get her grandchild back. She held the belief that her daughter, the baby's mother, might eventually regret her decision to relinquish the child, particularly since she had once offered her daughter a safe haven and support at her own home, an offer that was turned down due to unresolved issues from their past. Further investigation revealed that the baby's mother had been battling severe depression since her husband's death, which only heightened her determination to keep her family matters private and decline any assistance. Despite this, the grandmother was resolved to take drastic, even unlawful actions to achieve what she believed was the best for the child. Her actions were fueled by a complex blend of grief, bitterness, and a firm conviction that she could provide a better environment for the baby than the adoptive parents could. In a compassionate twist, the investigation concluded with the family choosing to keep ties with the grandmother, acknowledging the significance of family connections despite the challenging situation. This decision signaled a hopeful start to reconciliation and mutual understanding among all involved. Despite difficult circumstances, the family made sure Grandma stayed involved with her grandchild. James and Emma took a significant step by reaching out to Grandma, recognizing the essential role of family bonds and the grandmother's deep love for her grandchild in their lives. Collectively, they adeptly managed the upheaval with dignity and empathy, always prioritizing the child's welfare. Their son's keen observational skills played a critical role in uncovering a troubling truth, thereby positioning him as a guardian and hero for his younger sister. This revelation not only underscored his alertness but also confirmed his vital position within the family. Ultimately, the family's unity and understanding prevailed, leading to a peaceful resolution that celebrated the lasting connections of family and protected the child's best interests. This startling narrative leaves us with mixed feelings about Grandma's actions. Would you consider pressing charges against her or the nurse involved? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and be sure to tune in for our next video.